The topic of this video is to learn how to navigate Cisco devices using the command line interface. Now, what is a command line interface? What is the CLI? Well, as it suggests, let's look at this quick Google search. First I search, what does Cisco, why does Cisco use CLI instead of GUI? But below, I stumble upon this. What is the difference between CLI and GUI? The main difference between GUI and CLI is that, and GUI stands for graphical user interface. This whole experience is a graphical user interface. You have a mouse, you have links, you have visual icons and representations of things that you can click on. So the main difference between the GUI and the CLI, which is the command line interface, is that the graphical user interface allows users to interact with the system using graphical elements such as windows, icons, menus, while the command line interface allows the user to interact with the system using commands. Now we'll explore commands. Commands, you can think of commands as instructions that you have to type. So why does Cisco use the CLI? This is what we're going to primarily be using when we're configuring. You can think of the word, when you think of the word configuring, think about setting up. So when we're configuring or setting up switches and routers. So why does Cisco use the command line interface? The Cisco iOS Internetworking Operating System. This is the operating system that Cisco uses. The Cisco iOS command line interface is the primary user interface used for configuring. Remember, configuring means setting up, monitoring, and maintaining Cisco devices. This user interface allows you to directly and simply execute iOS commands, whether using a router console or terminal, or using remote access methods. Now, one thing I know about computers is if you're using graphics, it uses a lot of computing power. Versus when you're using text, it uses just plain text and a screen, or the command line interface. It uses less computing power. Now, I would say that the command line interface uses less computing power and allows your networking devices such as your router and switches to hone in on specific tasks. So let's take a look. Let's go on Packet Tracer. Let's go into the physical view, and we have our home city. I'm going to left click on the home city, left click on our corporate office, which is in the home city, and I'm going to go up to the top menu here, left click on zooming out, and this is our corporate office inside. This is the floor plan of the corporate office. I'm going to go into the main wiring closet. This is where all the networking equipment is kept. Typically, the different offices have different computers. I'm going to go into the main wiring closet. Our main wiring closet is empty, so I'm going to need a rack where we are going to store our networking equipment when they're in operation. So in the top right here, you have create new rack. So I'm clicking on that. Now in real life, you'll hire somebody, you'll buy the rack, this metal post, you can purchase it online. You buy the rack, and you have somebody who works on buildings, or does that kind of work to install it for you. This metal rack has to be bolted into the ground, and with and be able to hold the weight of all this networking equipment, and they can weigh from 10, 20 up to 50 pounds, and maybe even more, because you have multiple of them in the rack. So on this rack, I'm going to